Hugh Hefner. What is he? Is he a lecherous old fool? Is he a sex addict? Some would say he's the luckiest man on earth, and others would call him the closest thing to a god that a man can be. And when you think about it, in worldly terms, this guy seems to have it all. He has money, he's got women. In fact, he has a stream of women who come to him, take their clothes off in front of him every month. Now, if you ask any non-Christian teenage boy, and they do that so that he can take photos of them. If you ask any non-Christian teenage boy and a few Christian teenage boys, they would say that this is heaven, or at least the very closest you can get to it on earth. Mr. Hefner can have any of the women who come to him virtually. There may be some who wouldn't touch him with a barge pole, but mostly they're keen for the Playboy sensation. They want the lifestyle of the Playboy mansion, and the girls who live with him, his girlfriends, are always so complimentary about how great he is and how wonderful he is and blah, blah, blah. They agree on rules, like the fact that he's allowed to have as many girlfriends as he likes, but they can't have another boyfriend. And they take turns with being with him and so on. Now, Hugh Hefner has made his millions and his lifestyle by taking photos of naked women and selling them to ordinary men and boys. Now, some might say there's nothing wrong with that. These girls know what is going on. They're happy to be photographed. They get paid. Some of them get to live, worry-free. I still find it disturbing that the current, or at least the last time I heard, the current CEO of the company is his daughter. His own daughter is organising the business of taking photos of naked women so that her father can sleaze around with these women who are younger than she is. That stumps me. Now my question is this though, if Hugh Hefner has an active sex life with all of his girlfriends, then he's got an appetite greater than anyone I've ever heard of. This guy is literally doing stuff that people can't imagine as far as frequency. Now, having said that, do you think he's gone off sex? No. See, this is addiction, I would say. It only increases the appetite. Now, I'm being harsh on poor Hugh, I know. But let me say that I suspect almost any man placed in his position with a bevy of young, attractive women seeking his attention, almost any man would take on this lifestyle. And I don't think it's a good lifestyle. I think it's horrific. And I think his kids are evidence of how horrific it is. If it were offered to me today, I would obviously say no. Why are we talking about Hugh though? Because I think he's a lot like David. Did you catch some of the little details that popped out at us tonight? Let me say, whenever you read a detail, there's a detail in the Bible that's there for a reason. Look at verse 1 of chapter 11 of 2 Samuel. In the spring of the year, the time when the kings go out to battle, David sent Joab with his officers and all Israel with him. They ravaged the Ammonites and besieged Rabbah, but David stayed home. Why do we get told that? Because David's supposed to be out fighting like the kings do, not staying at home. David was at home bored. David had at least 6 wives at this stage, if not more, and he took the wife of Uriah the Hittite. David knew who she was. Look at verse 3. David said, "Send someone to inquire about the woman. It was reported, this is Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite." Before anything else happens, he knows exactly who she is. She is a married woman. She is off. She's out of bounds. Flick with me to chapter 23. Actually, stay there. It's faster. In chapter 23, we have this really bizarre listing of all of the mighty men of David. These are the guys who were they were the hit squad. They were the SAS of the 10th century BC. The 30 mighty men of David. Chapter 23, verse 38, 37, listing names: Zelek the Ammonite, Nahariah the Beeroth, the armor bearer of Joab, son of Zeruiah, Ira the Ithrite, Gareb the Ithrite, Uriah the Hittite. 37 in all. So this wasn't any dude. This was one of his top guns. This was someone he knew. And he knew he was at war. And so he sends for his wife, that he might have adultery with her. Did you catch the irony there? David stays at home and he commits adultery with Bathsheba when he should be at war. Uriah comes home and won't have sex with his wife because his buddies are still at war. He says, why should I live as if we're not at war? My friends, my commander, they are the Ark of the Covenant of God. They are at battle. Why should I sleep in comfort? Why should I know the comfort of my life? And David quietly is saying, because I already did. Even when he's drunk, he still won't compromise. And David, when cold sober, not only had sex with Bathsheba, but also planned the murder of her husband so that he could cover it up and that he could have her. We're going to have a DVD. Yeah, that's good. Nathan said to David, verse 7, "You are the man. Thus says Yahweh, the God of Israel, I anointed you king over Israel, and I rescued you from the hand of Saul. I gave your master's house and your master's wives into your bosom, and gave you the house of Israel and of Judah. And if that had been too little, I would have added as much more. Why have you despised the word of Yahweh? To do what is evil, to do what is evil in his sight. You struck down Uriah the Hittite with your sword, and have taken his wife to be your wife, and have killed him with the sword of the Ammonites. Now therefore the sword shall never leave your house, for you have despised me." Can you get the strength of what God is saying to you? Psalm 51 was written almost immediately after this. Psalm 51 is where David contemplates his own sin. And I think that we would be missing the point if we said, gee, that David's a bad guy. You see, if it was just about having more women available, all David needed to do was to ask. At this point in the Bible, we have 6 wives of David named.